Hello everybody, Reggie Time here, and this video is going to be me reviewing every pot I played from 2 sessions today where the pot size was 20 big blinds or over. I think there might be one that was 19 point something big blinds, but it's all 20 big blinds or more. It's going to be a quick review of each hand, nothing too in depth, just to give you guys an idea of how I review my sessions and how I just take a look at what I've done. I would typically do this as a warm-up before my next session, just to be aware of any mistakes I made in the previous session, to try and be conscious not to make them again in this session, and just to basically get myself in the mood for poker, to get myself ready and going. Lots of guys quite often ask me, like, how do you get over cold starts? How do you stop having cold starts all the time? I'm not sure we can stop it, but what we can do is we can prepare better, and I frequently prepare by reviewing hands. It's nice to review hands anyway, and if we use it as a warm-up, then we're killing two birds with one stone. So yeah, we're going to get stuck into it in just a moment. But before I do, could I just ask any of you guys who are watching me for the first time, or who have watched several videos but haven't subscribed yet, if you could please hit the subscribe button? That would be great. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by Christmas for no other reason other than it's just a little personal goal I've set. I don't really have much control over it, but hopefully we can get there. And please do hit like on the videos too. If you like the videos that I do, if you frequently watch my videos, hit the like button, and that will encourage me to keep making more. So let's crack on. We're not, as I said, we're not going to be too in depth with the analysis here. It's more just a quick once-over review to see what's going on, or what was going on. So here we had two queens in the big blind. What looks like a pretty standard tag opens under the gun. At the time, his stats weren't quite that. They were a little bit tighter than 22-18. Can't remember exactly what they were, but he kind of struck me as maybe he was like a bad, weak type player, maybe. Turns out that read was bad given the early sample size, but that was the read I had at the time. I 3-bet the queens. As a squeeze, he just calls. So at this moment, I'm just thinking his range is going to be mostly made up of pocket pairs, set mining, and maybe some like ace king that doesn't want a 3-bet, 4-bet, ace jack suited, some like big suited connected type hands. That's kind of where I'm putting his range. Don't know exactly, of course, but that's my typical line of thinking. So we get a pretty good flop, and I think I make a small mistake here because we're still multi-way. So when I c-bet on this board, my range is going to be much stronger than it is c-betting in a heads-up pot, just because I'm much less likely to bluff in a multi-way pot. For example, if I had ace king here, I wouldn't be like c-betting versus two players very often. So I think I make a small mistake by betting too small. Given that I'm not going to be bluffing very often, I don't think I need to protect my range as much by betting small and protect my bluffs, because I'm not going to have many bluffs. So I would prefer to see me make a larger bet here, but never mind. Our under the gun opponent kind of makes a little bit over a min raise, and the small blind folds. And this would be much more scary had I made a larger raise. As it is, I kind of thought maybe he's just attacking my small raise size. Maybe he's just got a hand like Jack X, pocket 10s, pocket 9s, and he's putting a small raise in just to put pressure on my like ace king, ace queen, that type of hand. Try to buy himself like a cheap river, really, I guess, by raising here. Maybe able to check back turns. Didn't think he'd be super strong. He might just fold 2s pre, he might just fold 6s pre. He can certainly have 3 jacks, but we certainly can't fold, getting them such a great price. We're getting like 5-1 on a call. So I just called. Turn kind of bricks off. The 7 shouldn't hit any of his flop raising range. We check. He now goes all in. And this might be a good point for you to like pause the video, because we're going to get through these hands quite quickly. And we're going to show the results of the hands. So this might be where you want to pause the video for a second and just think about, or rewind it back and look at how I played the hand so far, see what you would do differently, and then see what you would do if you played similar to me versus this bet size. So yeah, if you want to go ahead, pause the video and have a think, that's a good idea, because we're going to show the result now. I elected to call at this point. I think it hurts. I'd rather not have the queen of diamonds, because it takes away some of his like semi bluffs, like ace queen, diamonds, king queen, diamonds, stuff like that. But nevertheless, I still think our hand's just too strong. If he's going to show me a set, then it's just going to stack me. That's all there is to it. And the river came the diamond, but that didn't matter because he just had ace jack. I'm not convinced by his play. Maybe he was just jamming the turn to protect. Maybe I did a good job of convincing him that I didn't have jack XB, and maybe he was just like jamming the turn to protect. Who knows? But yeah, we took down a nice pot. Next hand we have king queen off. The queen's hand was one I remember because I've reviewed it before this. Most of the rest of these hands, this will be my first time looking back at them. So we get a pretty loose aggressive player on a small sample opening under the gun. We have king queen off. I hope I 3-bet. I don't think it's a good hand to call with. I think it's a 3-bet or a fold. I think versus a tighter player, versus an 18-14 type player or a 21-12, I think it's probably quite an easy fold. I think versus this type of player, I think it works nicely as a 3-bet. I did 3-bet. He just calls. We flop top pair. We should c-bet. We do. How big's the c-bet? It's just over half pot, which I think is fine. We're trying to get value from pocket pairs here that don't want to fold just yet. Anything from like jacks down. I think you can call with lots of pairs. Maybe not deuces, fours, but maybe 5s, 6s, 7s, 9s, 10s, jacks, flush draws. Certainly get plenty of value. He calls, turns a jack, completes kind of not that much, completes pocket jacks, of course. Guess if he has 10-9, he gets there with the straight, but not such a scary card. But I don't think we have a 3-street hand at this point. And I do remember this hand now, and I make a check back here when he checks. I'm not double sure. At the time, I was thinking I really don't want to like bet and get raised here. Kind of what I'll do quite a lot is if I think I can't handle a raise when I bet, I'll typically not bet with hands as strong as this. If I had a weaker hand, I'd be happy betting, or a slightly stronger hand, obviously we'd be bet calling it. But overall, I think I'm happy just like taking a pot control line and checking back here, which we did. River comes a king, so we river 2 pair. He bets, and I guess the question here is the 2 questions. Do you agree with the check back on the turn? Answer that question before you see the result. And as played, what do you do with this river? Do you now raise, try to represent missed hearts? Because we can get value with our 2 pairs from queen jack, jack 8, ace queen maybe. Maybe he's got a hand like king 10 that's just like somehow floating the flop. Who knows? Probably not too much king x in his range. So do you like raise here thinking we can get called by some worse hands, or do you just take the conservative route and call? So the question to ask yourself before you like see the result, if you want to pause the video now because the result's coming. I just called thinking that even though we could represent some flushes on the river, some miss flushes with a bluff raise, I kind of think I'm going to carry on semi-bluffing my hearts on the turn. So I wouldn't play the hand that way. If I had a flush draw on the flop, I would have definitely barreled the turn. So I personally wouldn't have too many flushes here. He doesn't know that, of course, but I still thought just calling was going to be okay. And we lost a hand to his set of jacks, so our check on the turn certainly kept us out of trouble there to a certain extent. On to the next hand. I want to try and get through them quicker. We've already done, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12 more hands to go, and we took 8 minutes so far on 2. This needs to be quicker. Up the speed, Reggie. We open jack 10 suited. We get 3-bet by a loose aggressive player on the button over a small sample. Too small of a 3-bet. We can't fold, so we just call. We flop top pair. We check. He bets small. We call. Turn 9 shouldn't really change very much. We check. He bets much bigger here, kind of putting us in a pretty dicey spot. We just have 1 pair in a 3-bet pot. He can absolutely have like queens, kings, aces. He can have spade draws. He can now have some like straight draws and things, I guess. I tend to be a bit stationary in these spots sometimes. So I did my usual thing and I stationed, and then the river came a 9. And I check. Our opponent makes a reasonable size bet of around 3/5 pot, is it? Something like that. Sorry, no. 2/3 pot, sorry, not 3/5 pot. A reasonable bet around 2/3 pot. It looks pretty value-y, I guess. So what are we doing here? Are we going to fold our Jack 10? Or are we going to call with it? I mean, raising's off the table, I would imagine, for most of us. It's just a matter of call or raise. Bearing in mind our opponent's quite loose aggressive, I decided to go with a call. I'm not a huge fan of paying off on the river in these games, but if I am going to pay off, I'm going to pay off versus someone who's playing 30-21 rather than pay off versus someone who's playing like 16-11. So I think if we're ever going to call here with Jack 10, this is the type of play to do it against. And we ended up with the winner, so happy days. Pocket 10s. We raise under the gun. We get 3 bets small by the big blind. Who again, somewhat loose aggressive opponent, although expecting to have a relatively strong range here given his 3-bet inverse under the gun. But we still call with our 10s because his 3-bet's too small and we might have the best hand. 7 Queen 9 dry. His C-bet's smallish. We certainly can't afford to 1 C-bet. We have to at least see a turn card, which we do. The turn's a complete brick. He barrels again, less than half pot. I think I can probably find a tight fold here. Because I'm not going to call 3 streets. I can't see too many natural bluffs he has unless he's picked up hearts specifically with like an ace king of hearts, ace jack of hearts type thing. There's not too many bluffs he can have given me 3-bet pre-flop. I make what I now consider to be a bad call. I should definitely fold this hand on the turn, or strongly consider it. The river comes an ace. Our opponent checks. Now I started thinking, does he have a hand like pocket kings? That's now scared of the ace. Is there value now in turning my hand into a bluff? Or do we have enough showdown value? And I think I made my second mistake in the hand here. Because when he goes bet check on the ace, unless he has like ace king of hearts and he's just trapping, or bluff catching, or ace jack of hearts, I don't really see how he has many ace X hands except exactly pocket aces. Looks a lot like he has Queen X or pocket kings to me. I think I should just go all in here and try and get him off those hands on the ace. But I didn't. I checked back and we lost to jacks. So I think I made a mistake by calling the turn and I made a bigger mistake by not trying to bluff the river. But never mind. No shame in my game, we all make mistakes. If we only showed the good stuff, then it wouldn't be very honest of me, would it? Here's Queen, we isolate a limper. He limp re-raises, which is like when bad players or like bad loose-ish players, and this, I don't know, he might not be bad, but I suspect he might be. When these guys limp re-raise, they kind of raise a red flag to look at me. I've got pocket aces or pocket kings usually, but we're getting a reasonable price pre-flop and we've got a very playable hand and position, so I like to call. We flop the nut flush draw. Our opponent checks. And I still think you can have hands like pocket aces here and what have you, even though we like block them with having an ace. Still think you can have those types of hands, pocket aces, maybe flop top set. These fish like to get trappy. We could certainly bet here, but I'd hate to get raised. Another one of those situations where we don't have much showdown value, but we might have a little bit of showdown value. We have a decent amount of equity against things like pocket jacks, pocket queens if he's got those types of hands. And he's just never going to, I just don't want to get check raised by pocket aces or pocket kings, ace king, that type of thing. So I don't think he's ever going to fold many better hands, so I just decide to take my free card. Turn comes a break, he just bets $2. Again, we could contemplate raising here. He doesn't really look super strong post flop, but we're just getting pretty decent direct odds to call, so we do. And then we pick the river, and he wakes up and makes a huge bet, and I think we should fold at this point, which I do. Next hand, 2 9s. We just had to 3-bet. Ah, yes, I remember this one too. We had to 3-bet 2 9s, and my reasoning was he doesn't look like he likes to fold to 3-bets, but it's a ridiculously small sample size. And as soon as I played the hand, I kind of tapped myself on the wrist because I'm forever telling people who I work with, don't get too excited by small sample sizes, especially in relation to 3-bet stats and 4 to 3-bet stats, and I fell into that trap myself, thinking that we could just get tons of value pre-flop with our pocket nines. We get 4-bet, so I think my 3-bet's a small mistake, not a huge one by a long shot, but it's certainly a smallish mistake, I think. We get 4-bet, and we're getting like, we need 30% equity to call and try and see some flops. I think just because it's, you know, obviously he's going to have a lot of aces, kings, queens, but I think he's going to have enough ace, king, and just a couple of maybe some random bluffs, who knows, to think that we just probably can't fold for this like sizing. I don't like it. We're going to play very fit or fold post flop. I'm not happy with this hand at all, but given a 3-bet, I think we have to call what is a small-ish 4-bet. And then we just completely missed the flop. He checks. We could stab here trying to get him off pocket kings, but I think we have to empty the clip. I think we have to barrel twice to get him off like pocket kings, pocket queens. And I'm kind of already pissed off with the hand, so I just checked back. And then he leads the turn, and there's not much we can do, and we just fold. So that's another hand that I'm not happy with, but again, no point just showing you the good stuff. We have to show you it all. We all make mistakes. We all play hands badly sometimes. And we're just going to look at it all, warts and all. Ace queen. We raise, we get 3-bet small by a short stacker. I don't fuck around with these short stackers. He's got 40 blinds. If he's got the cure for ace queen, if he's got a better hand, then good for him. If that 3-bet stat's accurate, he's 3-betting plenty enough where we can expect to get some folds with ace queen here and be doing okay against his calling range. I think we are anyway. Anyway, he snaps it off. And we make a straight versus his pocket jacks. Go us. Ace king, we 3-bet versus a pretty good looking regular. If them stats are true, like 24, 21, 43% steal. Again, poor sample size, but he's got solid enough stats. But I mean, ace king's a mandatory 3-bet here. He calls, we flop an ace. How thoroughly exciting. I decide to check back. I guess I'm checking back here just for deception, thinking it's going to be hard to get called for 3-bets with worse hands, unless he has a hand like ace queen or ace jack maybe. And I've checked back a lot of other hands here too, so I don't mind checking this back. Would betting have been fine? I think so. I think betting, of course, would have been fine, because my bluffs want to bet this board sometimes. But I do a lot of checking. As you can see by my c-bet stats, it's only 47%. I'm not the most rampant c-better of all time. So I think sometimes when you're not c-betting too frequently, it's nice to check back some strong hands too. Turn is a 10. He leads out. I decide to jam, or not put him all in effectively. I didn't realise he was short at the start of the hand. Makes it a bit different. Maybe I just noticed that now. He's already starting the hand with half a stack, so now my flop check back. I kind of like it. Do I like it better or worse given his shot? I think I like it a bit better, because when we get to the flop, yeah, we've got an SPR of less than 2. So I think we can I think I like the check back a lot better versus his size than I would against a full stack. Anyway, he leads out, we jam, he calls, and he had ace queen, so we were always going to felt him anyway, whether we check back the flop or not. Jack 9 suited. Loose aggressive player opens. Had I known this 4 to 3-bet stat at the time of 13, this is absolutely not a hand I would have 3-bet him with. But I did. We get called on the button by, against someone who I didn't know very well at the time. Turns out to be a rampant fish. Get 2 callers. We flop 1 pair. Again, I check the flop. Don't hate that checking the flop there. I think betting the flop's going to be like way overplaying our hand. We could certainly be behind here, and if we bet, it's really going to be difficult to get called by worse. So I think checking is completely fine. Opponents check back. I think now I like to bet small on the turn just to try and get calls from any kind of pair that's worse than a jack here from either of my opponents, but most likely E. Galvano, as when he checks back the flop, you'd imagine he thinks he has some showdown value. He calls. River is a 3, and I kind of pussy out, don't bet. Not really sure how we can get more value. I guess if I'd have known he was 68/5, I would have just bet like $3 here, just to get some crying calls. I was a little bit worried. I was probably check folding here unless he made a large bet, or at least I hope I was. Our opponent checks back and he has a random ace-10. 2 queens, we 3-bet again. I think that's obviously completely standard. Get called. Checks. We make a really small c-bet, obviously try to target all these pocket pairs and things, maybe induce some spewy bluff raises, but basically just try to target his like weak part, his weak, or allowing him to call with a lot of his checking range. He calls, we turn top set. We bet a little bit bigger here given some draws have developed. An opponent calls, we river the board, he checks. We've managed to set the stack up pop so we can jam. We jam, he calls, and we just cool with him. I guess this is one of those spots. Sometimes you win those, sometimes you lose them. This time it's our turn to win. It's queen again. We 3-bet versus someone who looks like they're shaping up to be loose aggressive, but who knows because we have no hands hardly on them. He calls. Bet the flop. I think I'm betting this flop we're going to be 2-barreling a lot of the time. We have the backdoor hearts, we have 2 overcards. So I think it's a decent spot where we can 2-barrel. Our opponent calls. Turn to 6. Not the best of cards for barreling, but if I did have 2 aces, 2 kings, 2 queens, 2 jacks even here, I would definitely bet twice and maybe think about checking back the river. So I think it's fine to continue betting. I'm not expecting tons and tons of folds, but we are putting lots of pressure on stuff like pocket 7s, pocket 8s. Maybe we could have bet slightly bigger. Maybe I should have bet slightly bigger. If I'm just planning on firing 2 barrels and giving up, I think we can maybe put a little bit more meat on this one. Maybe bump it up to 550 or something. So I think I could have used a bigger size there. Anyway, he calls again, and on the river, I guess we can chop here sometimes. Sometimes we now beat some like pocket 5s, pocket 4s, pocket 3s. We're ahead of all these flush draws that I've missed still. So I elect to just check back, and our opponent shows he made a pretty loosish call pre-flop, and then I think post-flop's completely standard from his point of view. Next hand, 2 kings. We squeeze. Could make that slightly bigger, I think. 350 maybe will be 14 blinds, but nevertheless it's not a big deal. Open raiser calls. This guy just like back raises to 1050. Trivial jam. He calls. We beat 2 jacks. Goes. Here's king. We 3-bet again. A lot of 3-bets here, isn't there? We 3-bet again. He 4-bets. I remember this hand now, and this is one again I'm not really going to like. I don't know him, he's an unknown, we've only have 10 hands. I think we can go any way with 3 here. Folding wouldn't be outrageous. Jamming wouldn't be outrageous. Calling's a bit weak. Sadly, that's what I did. I'm not sure why. I guess we just wanted to try and play a flopping position. Not convinced. I think in hindsight, I think I would have preferred to have seen me fold, then jam, then call as a last option. But this was getting towards the end of the session. Not saying it's an excuse, it's just a reason. Maybe I was just getting a little bit sloppy, who knows. I don't hate the call, but I think it's the worst of the 3 options by some margin. And he just bets and we just fold, and we kind of didn't play that hand really well. And then the last hand, we have ace queen. We open. We get 3-bet by someone who now looks like a nit in the big blind. I didn't know this at the time. Don't recall him being this tight. Don't recall the hand, to be honest with you, but nevertheless we call. He c-bets pretty big. Well, not pretty big, but like 3/5 pot. I remember now. He had like 100% c-bet over a small sample. But his stats were much more aggressive than this at the time. He was something like, I think, more like 22 something. And he looked more aggressive than he is. He's kind of betting the size where, typically with my flush draws, nut flush draws and whatever, I'll call in position a lot of the time. But when he bets this big, if he's ever bet folding, I think he's making it slightly too big. And I don't really want to just call, miss, and then just fold turns. So I elected to just ship it in his face, which I think is a bit excessive. I guess we could just have made it like 9 and called it off, or maybe just called. But anyway, shipped it in his face and he folded, which is a fine result, and we won the pot. So yeah, I think I played some of those hands pretty well. I think I played some of them not so well. But there we go. That's kind of how I go in my sessions. So what I would have taken from this is be careful that when we're 3-betting hands and our opponent's going to be out of position, especially. Be careful with like what are we going to do versus 4-bet. So I think I lacked some forward planning with the pocket nines and the ace king in terms of when we were 3-betting. I think those two hands are the two hands I like the least, and both of them show a lack of forward planning from me in terms of not being prepared for the 4-bet, because people have just been calling or folding a lot. I think they're the only 2 times I got 4-bet in the entire session. I think they were anyway. And I think I misplayed both of those hands. So my learning for this when I go to my next session, which are going to start very soon, is just be aware when we're 3-betting how we're going to respond to 4-bets, and then just make a plan and execute it. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. It's a bonus video. I won't be doing these too often unless I get lots of positive comments. I just felt like making another video, so I have done. Let me know what you think, and let me know what you think of any of the hands. And we'll see you again on Friday, probably, or in 3 days' time, or if you're watching this 6 months down the line. I guess the next video is already there. But for you guys who watch them pretty much when they come out, we're back with another video probably on Friday. Bye-bye for now.